Hey, everybody. I am so excited to introduce you to my friend, Kyle Draper, and I'm going to tell you why. I've known Kyle for a while, and I have known him to be one of the most real, approachable, and human individuals that I've had the pleasure to hang out with. Turns out he's a coach and an author, so he's got stuff to share with you on one very specific topic. And it's the one that probably is the one that most people get stalled on when it's time to build your business, and it's social media. And I think Kyle describes it in the first 10 minutes of this interview perfectly. And he explains that introducing your humanity into social media is the game changer. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Kyle Draper. I am really excited to have Kyle Draper with me today. How are you, Coach?
I am doing awesome. Just being with you, it just makes my heart happy. So thanks for having me.
I love that phrase, man. It makes my heart happy too. It's a perfect way to describe it. So yeah, man, it's my pleasure. We bumped this up a bit because you got a book now that you're promoting, which is pretty exciting. And I can't wait for everybody to get a copy, their own copy of Rethink Everything. If you had to just describe that in a nutshell, like what are they going to get from the book?
The byline is that you know about social media.
Nice.
This is a marketing book. It's a social media book that truly is designed to help everybody that reads it realize, oh my gosh, I have been taught completely backward.
Yep.
How to be on social, be present there, post there, engage there. And so I just really hope that this will help people kind of stop just chasing a bunch of strangers through lead gen.
Yeah.
And realize that the greatest opportunity they have to grow in their business this year and beyond is with all the people that already know, like, and trust them. They're just speaking over the top of all their heads all the time.
Wow. That's so good. Well, thanks for being with us today, Kyle. Make it a great day. We'll see you. Bye-bye. Yeah, I think that might be all we need. But no, there's more, because what I love is, I was just telling you before I hit record, I love somebody that has found a lane, and a very specific lane, like a bike lane. Like, don't even picture, a lane on an expressway or a freeway, like a bike lane, and just own it. And I feel like you've done that, but I don't think people know like where you came from. You've done some stuff, dude, before you got here. Tell us just briefly how you landed here in this specialization.
Yeah. So at one point, I was a 5th generation pastor. And so in my 20s, I was a youth pastor in Texas. Really thought that was my whole life. That's what I would do till I was 80 years old.
There's nothing like an 80-year-old youth pastor.
Well, I guess I probably would have matured out of youth ministry, hopefully, but in ministry in some capacity, right? Yeah. And man, this could sound weird to some people, but I just felt like what God had called me to do, I wasn't able to accomplish being a pastor.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
And the reason I say that, Coach Bill, is that, like, if I were sitting with you at coffee and you didn't know who I was really, like we were just getting to know each other, the minute I said I was a pastor, you instantly didn't cuss as much. You weren't telling me about being hungover, a few nights ago. And I was just getting a fakeness from people.
Yeah.
Because they assumed I wanted to fix them. And so I was like, dude, this sucks. This is not why I got into ministry. And so over a course of a lot of prayer, I felt God calling me to have a pastor's heart in the business world. And so I started a roofing company, left church ministry, started a roofing company with my dad and my brother. That's where I learned sales and marketing. And yes, even though I'm 6'3", like 290 pounds now, I was scaling the roofs of houses. It was a wild season of life, but that was where all the pruning took place to begin to teach me what I didn't know was coming.
Yeah.
And so I do that. That grew into a successful company. Then I started a company building websites for realtors.
Which is a natural transition from
which makes total
pastor,
the transition
roofer, website for realtors.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, right. It's a perfect a perfect flow that makes complete sense to everybody. And so I was the hype man. My business partner was the developer. And so we're selling websites to realtors. And I have this moment where I think, gosh, cold calling realtors is really not that fun for me. I asked the Lord, I said, what am I good at? What do realtors suck at? And that's the relationship that God and I have, is I say sucks to him and he's cool with that. And Bill, what he gave me back was, Kyle, you're a great communicator and realtors are bad at social media. And so why don't you learn social media, teach them classes about it, and then through that build rapport, earn their trust, and you're going to sell as many websites as you want.
So cool.
And so I started doing that. And then of course, one day I look up and people want to actually hire me to teach a class. And it's when the light bulb went off of like, dude, maybe there's actually something in this
Love that.
for like me as a social media coach or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And here we are.
I love it so much because you and I have known each other for a few years, and like full disclosure, you guys need to know when you see my videos on social, that's Kyle's company. That's content compounding. And so if somebody wanted to just go find that right now, if like they just got to log off, and if they just go to, is it kyledraper.com, and then they'll get to, what's the best way
they can find it from kyledraper.com, or they can go directly to contentcompounding.io.
The reason I love it, you guys, it is brainless for me. This was such a ridiculous lesson for me as a coach. I used to do my own videos all the time, and I would do them on my iPhone. And then I figured out how to pay somebody to do closed captions, and I was doing my own editing in iMovie and, fade to black and titles and whatever. And it's like, wow, I coach people all day long to figure out what they're really good at and then do that, right? And here I am. Bill Hart should only do three things. You probably figured out the same thing for yourself. I should coach, I should present to audiences, and I should create content. Those are the only three things I should do. Anything that is not directly related to those three things, really bad idea. But when I say create content, I mean like literally camera on, record, hey, just want to talk to you about that, and stop recording. Like, that's it. I should not be, it's like, dude, it's like John Legend showing up on stage and like checking the lights and running mic cords, and that doesn't happen. Come on. Yep. So anyway, I just want you guys to know that's my week in, week out connection to Kyle. He and his team, I picture 23-year-olds drinking Mountain Dew at 3 a.m. So I'm assuming that's what's happening. Yeah,
that's probably true.
Your team makes me look good every week, and I am so grateful for that service. So if you guys are in that place right now where it's like, oh yeah, I need somebody else to do that for me and create little micro content, and you tell them just real quick, what kind of little things can they get once they create their video?
The reason we do this, CB, is that most of the people we know, realtors and lenders, they're great educators, but they're not entertainers.
Yeah, there you go.
And so in the world of short form content where people feel like you got to go booty dance, you got to go like do all this silly stuff, the reality is you just need more opportunity for people to see you as the expert that you already are.
Yeah.
And so we created a system where people create educational content, 2, 6, 8 minutes in length, and then we rip it up and put it on YouTube, create reels and TikToks from it, create quote graphics and audiograms.
So good.
So that through less than an hour of your effort a month, you're going to get over 20 pieces of content back in return.
Yeah.
And it just feels like a no-brainer every time I talk about it.
It's a complete no-brainer. When I get that link from your team, from Gwenda, I think it is.
Yeah.
I see, oh, here's the full video here without captions. Here's the full video with captions. Here's the short video. And I don't tell them what to do. I tell them what I want.
Yeah.
They have enough discernment to be able to say, you know what, I think this is a key point that we want to amplify. And they always ask right at the end of it, like, so is this okay? And very seldom do I have to come back and say anything, like very, very seldom. So anyway, I don't have enough good stuff.
They're great at what they do.
They're really great at what they do, but that doesn't happen in a vacuum. That happens because of you, which reminds me, that's the whole reason for the interview. I want to know more about you. So you get into that. You and I have shared stages at sales rallies and president's clubs and local events that you're speaking at. And then all of a sudden I hear that you've written a book, and I'm like, oh, I'm reading a Kyle Draper book because I love you so much. And I love your heart and your personality and your energy. I just know intuitively that I'm going to love the book. Right. So I want people to know a bit more about this idea of rethinking everything, because what this assumes that people think a certain way, which is what you've been learning. Right. Yeah. So describe the wrong way to do social media. What does that look like?
The wrong way is for most realtors and lenders, or any entrepreneur for that matter, they didn't really care probably about social media prior to needing it for business.
Yeah.
And so they learned how to sell, they learned how to negotiate, they learned, right, all the things that we learned through any sales book ever written, any sales program ever designed. And in that process, they were then redirected to social media saying, see that over there, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you can sell there. And so they've entered into this relationship with social media from the perspective of, this is just another tool in my sales belt. So they neglect that, whoa, this is supposed to be a place for relationships, to keep up with family and friends, to learn things. Then we pervert it with just, look how many houses I sold. Look at my new listing. Look at the amount of closings I've had. And then we wonder why nobody wants to be around us and nobody wants to engage our stuff. And so it just becomes this vortex of selfishness.
You guys write that down. Vortex of selfishness.
I just made that up. I might have to get that into the book before I hit publish.
Slide that in, man. You might need another chapter. Yeah, you don't want to be caught in the vortex of selfishness. So you just described something really interesting to me that I've always seen the same way. You're just articulating it better than me. I've always said to realtors, so if I have an audience of real estate agents, I'll say, so think about social media this way. Like if you were in the physical world and you were invited to a party, like right now, my wife is sitting out a family reunion evite, right? So we got people coming in from out of state. So it's a perfect excuse. Let's bring everybody in so people don't just get together for funerals, right? When the oldest people die. Yeah. So we're going to have a family reunion. If one of our relatives was a realtor and they showed up at that event with like a box full of listing flyers and said, hey, good to see you. I've got a new listing. Hey, great to see you. I've got a new listing. Like it wouldn't take too long for the people in that room to go, wow, like avoid her at all costs. Yeah, this is awful. You know, this is so awkward and embarrassing. And yet that's exactly what we do on social, because it's to your point, it's sort of the lowest common denominator. It's the way that we were trained. If we go back to, you know, Tommy Hopkins sales training or sales training 101, it's like, well, you know, you have a new listing. You're going to knock on 20 doors around it. You're going to have flyers in the box. You're going to have a QR code. You're going to have an iPad when you get in. Like, okay, that's all true, but that's not what we're doing here. To your point, it's about creating relationships. In my experience, Kyle, and I'd love to hear your response to this, is there are people like you and I that are just in the disc world where, you know, 100% eyes, we're Labrador retrievers with a tennis ball. And it's like, hey, people, I just want to hang out with people, but not everybody's that way. You've got introverts and ambiverts and high SCs and people that just aren't structured that way. And so they don't naturally step into the relational side of social. And that's where the opportunity is. So react to that.
What's easy for a lot of people that aren't just the big extroverts is they very quickly convince themselves that social media is just not a place for them. When the reality is, I'm not going to say this for you, but for me, like my energy, there's plenty of people out there that are exhausted by me and they can only take me in doses. Gosh, like I can only handle his positivity for so long before it just feels crazy to me.
Yep.
And so for everybody out there that loves the extrovert, there's equal amount of people out there that are like the extrovert, that are like the introvert. The introvert can still get on camera, can still convey their message in a way that's introverted. And me as a high energy guy, I may not resonate with it, but again, I'm not their audience.
Right.
And so the key to this whole social media thing is just simply putting myself out there in a way that makes me attractive to people like me so that we begin to do life together. And as we do life together, it's going to reflect on my ability to grow my business through your relationship.
Yeah, man. I love that. I remember a realtor that I interviewed years ago. I mean, years ago, probably 8 years ago. She was in like, I want to say Baltimore or something, Keller Williams agent. She had sold 100 homes that year. And really and truly, this had to have been 8 years ago. When I asked her where the business came from, this was like my first epiphany. She said, Facebook. And I said, well, and she's like 30, you know, and has a couple dogs, no kids yet. And she does now. I think she's having her second. And I said, well, tell me more. And that's awesome. Tell me more. And she said, well, when I meet people, the very first thing I do is connect with them on social. It's just a natural ad hoc part of who I am. My mom doesn't do that, who's 60. She said it's not natural and intuitive for her. So she said, I compete with realtors who are 60, and that's not natural and intuitive for them. It is for me at 30. That's what I'm doing, and Insta and, whatever. But at
Yeah.
the time, she was just talking about Facebook, and she said, so what I do is now we're talking about showing property, listing their home, whatever it might be, but we're also talking about dogs, the TV show we're binge watching, the latest whatever curling thing. Where my head went is my wife just got this Dyson hair wand. Do not mention
Oh,
this. Do not mention this to your wife.
I will not.
Yeah, I mean, she's pregnant right now. Is that true?
She is,
She
yes.
doesn't. She doesn't need this. Yeah, this is $600.
Ooh.
Yeah, Dyson is like, it represents a third of their $7 billion volume. I think it's
Holy
very
cow.
impressive.
Yeah, we're gonna
Anyway,
be buying a crib with that $600.
I'm just saying, man, it's kind of a crazy thing. But her point was, I'm connecting with this people and with these people as we're showing property, talking about their listing. And so it creates a relationship which prevents the idea of somebody saying, maybe I'll go talk to Bob the realtor, or I'm going to go over here, because you've created the relationship. It was the first time that I really heard it
Yeah.
in that way. And the other thing that occurs to me is, I think you might know Keith Collins with Movement
Yeah.
Mortgage.
Yeah. I love Keith.
Okay, so he's lovable, and follow him, by the way, you guys. Make sure that you're following his stuff. But he talks about this thing that he does with realtors, and realtors, you can do this with anybody. You can do this with anybody, but he's created a separate group. You would know how to do this on Facebook. So it's a separate group, so that when you click on it, all you're going to see are the people that you want to follow. So let's
Yeah.
say that he's got 30 realtors that he's building and maintaining relationships with. When he goes through that, he clicks on it, he sees their picture of their cappuccino, their vacation, their new car, the snow that just hit their backyard, and he comments. And I think what he does is, may have learned this from you for all I know. I think what he does is he says, I do 10 likes, comments, and DMs a day to that group. So to me, Kyle, this is such an interesting thing, because it's like I walk into this massive, picture the Cowboy Stadium, just some enormous facility, right? But then there's a door over here and it says, my friends. And I open the door and it's a much smaller door. And I go in there and I'm just interacting. I'm liking things that they're posting. I'm commenting. So this weekend I was posting how beautiful things were after the rain, right? I don't know if you saw the pictures, but
Yeah.
we're just out here right now. We got snow-covered mountains. We never have that. We have mountains. You're in Texas, for God's sakes. You don't even know what mountains are.
I've never seen one.
Yeah,
Actually.
I know. Well, I'll send you pictures, because
Thank you.
they're like bumps in the ground. They're amazing.
Oh, interesting.
Anyway, so you would comment like, cool, that's awesome, dude, look how amazing that is. And then direct messages, like, hey, noticed your Jeep, is that the hybrid? And
Right.
so imagine, you guys, if you're a realtor, if you're a loan officer, if you're a financial planner, if you sell BMWs, imagine if you did that 10 times a day. Now you're using social media as a tool, right? Is that the kind of stuff that you're coaching people to do?
But it's even bigger than that, Bill, because what Keith is doing is he's engaging in the moment, which is valuable, but he's also always working the algorithm to be in his favor. The algorithm of every social platform is paying attention to who is Coach Bill talking to, who is talking back to him. Let's keep content in front of those people, because obviously they want to see each other's posts because they're talking back and forth.
Got it.
And so what most people do is they do what I call post and ghost, right? We talk about that in the book.
That's so
and
good.
So they begin to understand, like, okay, Coach Bill, like, I get it. I'll start posting more. And that's good. But social media is a two-way street.
Yeah.
And so the algorithm can also tell when, wow, Bill's been posting for a month, but he's not engaging anybody.
Yeah.
And you'll begin to lose value in the algorithm, because now you're just a billboard and they know you're a billboard. And so you'll begin to be seen by less and less people. So
wow, that's
why
so
it's so
good,
powerful.
man. That is so powerful. I know that to be true, but I don't think that I'm probably leaning in enough there. So that's really good for me to hear. So as an example, that the weather, the gorgeous mountains, post that I did yesterday, which had 5 or 6 pictures. I think what I've done is, when somebody comments, I heart it, right? I heart their comment.
Yeah.
but I don't say anything. So if I were to say something to their comment, I assume that's attractive to the algorithm, or does that not matter?
The love is still weighty in the algorithm as well.
Okay.
So that's better than doing nothing.
Okay.
But yes, that comment is just kind of that cherry on top,
Yeah.
to really show the algorithm that you're playing the game and engaging back.
So when people get this book in their hands and they're sitting there with their yellow highlighter, right, and their post-it notes,
Yeah.
and they're like, okay, Kyle, like walk me through it. Can you kind of just give me a little flow of what the experience in the book is going to be? Because I assume you're gonna try and convict them up front, right?
Yep.
And then I know you're gonna coach them. You're gonna
Yeah.
teach them. So talk to me a little bit about the journey of the book.
Yeah, the start is helping hopefully reshape their mind into going, "Oh wow, I think I have looked at this from a poor perspective for the last 5 years, 8 years,
Yeah.
10 years, whatever it's been," right? Helping them to establish that. And then Bill, I'll walk them through like all the self-limiting beliefs that I personally have
Nice.
dealt with and I've watched others deal with. I kind of walk them through them in order based on the experiences that I've had
So good.
coaching people through this stuff. It's a beautiful journey of, oh, okay, I'm beginning to get it. Oh, wait, nope, I don't have it all the way. Oh, wait, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I struggled with that literally an hour ago. And then, oh, here's how I can fix it. That is going to take place. And I think the biggest underlying theme of this journey is if you would just be a better human and then apply that to social media, take your humanity to social media, that you will be blown away at the impact that it has. And man, that's the journey of the book. The last chapter is my favorite chapter, which I'm not going to talk about because it's kind of like the secret weapon to
I get it.
to my mojo. Every chapter also, which I'm very proud of, if you just opened it to a random page, there's not a page in this book that doesn't apply to you today, right? So it's not here's my 10 steps to make you a better salesperson.
Yeah,
so you can't go to step 9 because you're not ready. Any single page can create instant value on social media for them.
I love that, buddy. And I truly, so at the time that we're recording this, we do not have a physical book in our hands. So I'm saying I can't wait to read it, not because I didn't order it, not because you didn't send me a copy, because we don't have it. But hopefully, as you're watching and listening to this, you have the ability to do that. And if not, you know that it will be following very quickly. But I want to come back to the humanity issue, because you do that really well, Kyle. And you mentioned earlier 6'3", now 290. So now not everybody knows what that means. They might think that a year ago you were 170 pounds.
True. Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that as an example.
Yeah. I mean, I at my heaviest years ago, I was 401 pounds, and I've lost 100 pounds twice,
dude.
And so this is working on my third time to lose 100 pounds. That's just a part of, like, right now on social, I'm posting very regularly about working out.
Love it.
Last week I was speaking in Tulsa, Oklahoma at an event, and I had this big old plate of nachos that were incredible. And the picture was of the 2/3 of it left that I was choosing to throw away.
Love it.
And I was just telling the story of, I just always convinced myself that to lose weight, I had to eat like a rabbit.
Yeah.
And that what I'm learning is it's really more about the amount of food that I'm consuming, not necessarily just the type of food.
So smart.
And when I talk about this stuff, right, everybody, Coach Bill, everyone already knows what I do for a living on my social. And so when I talk about things that make sense to a human being, I mean, dude, hundreds of comments, DMs of just people, man, I'm so proud of you. I just, hey, I'm struggling with this too. Here's a book that I found. And so many future opportunities are going to come from conversations about a 2/3 plate of uneaten nachos.
Yeah, man.
And that's the stuff that if you don't understand this, you will convince yourself that that type of post is stupid. It makes no sense to getting another loan or another listing. And then you'll go right back to just posting your next picture of a house. And so the humanity piece is just so powerful.
Oh my goodness.
For keeping people engaged in your story.
So I really want to challenge you, if you're watching or listening to this right now, to think about That's an extreme one, right? And first of all, dude, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
And for all the reasons that your family, excuse me, supports you in your focus on weight loss, mostly because you just have so much to offer the world and we want you around, man. So I'm really proud of you. But I love the impact that it's having on other people because you will encourage other people. And quite honestly, it's the reason I'm 6'3", 230 all the time. Like it's, you won't see me eat a huge meal. I will do exactly what you did. It is not uncommon for me, if my Italian wife does not understand it. She's full-blooded Italian, where I'll leave stuff on the plate and she's like,
Was it
"Mangia,"
not good?
it's not, this is not the way we do it in Italy. Yeah. But I eat probably 5 times a day. Right? Like I started my morning with a bowl of oatmeal, but now at 9:30 I'm going to have what we call second breakfast, kind of a hobbit thing, right?
Yeah.
I eat throughout the course of the day, but I should probably talk about that. That's probably something that I should talk
Yeah.
about. That might be encouraging to people. But the things that I tend to talk about are mostly coaching lessons, right? And they're the things that go through your system. The recent one that I talked about, you'll probably relate to this in terms of social, is I said, you don't have to teach a full lesson on social media. There's a place for that. There's a time and a place for that. And I don't know if you even see the stuff that comes across, but the latest one is called the meatball on the toothpick. And it's, when
I
you go
love
through
it.
Costco and the little old lady with the hairnet is
Oh
offering
yeah.
a meatball on the, well, it's so you buy the 3-pound bag of meatballs, right? But
Right.
you probably wouldn't have bought the bag of meatballs, Mario's meatballs or whatever, if you didn't taste the little sample. And so on social, my thing has always been just like tease it a little bit, like give
Right.
them enough to be interested and enough value that they're glad that they heard you. But you don't need to educate them. Keith Collins, again, just to bring this up, is a genius at this. He'll talk about this with energy efficient homes and the myth of
Right.
20% down and just all the topics that you might imagine that you run through in the course of your day. I would challenge you, write that stuff down as you go through
Yeah.
your day. The things that come up again and again with buyers and sellers, those topics, those are the things you should post on. How do you help people sort of package up this idea of, I need to start sharing my humanity more?
There's a chapter in the book called Actually Listen. Because what I've watched of lenders and realtors, once you become the expert at what you do, if you're not careful, even as a coach, we are so capable of, we no longer listen to the people we're coaching because we already think we know where they need to go. So we're letting them talk. We're pretending to pay attention, but
So
we're really just
this
waiting
is
for
great.
them.
This is great, Kyle. But what I really want to talk about is, do you see what I just did there? Come on. Do you see?
I see.
I did exactly what
Yeah.
you were describing. I interrupted you because I thought I knew where you were heading as a joke. You should be laughing right now. So sorry, brother. I just thought if anybody I could do this with, it'd be Kyle Draper.
Of course you can.
Of course I can. Anyway, sorry, man.
But I also know that
Keep
you're
going.
bold enough to just tell me to shut up and talk about something
I was
different.
totally playing.
So I just wasn't sure.
I was being that guy.
But that's the if we would just actually listen, right? 2 days ago, I asked a group full of lenders, how many questions do you think you get asked during the course of a transaction?
Oh my goodness.
And they jokingly said 1,000. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like yes, that's hilarious. But like how many do you think it really is? And what we settled on was 50. And I said, so tell me again why you don't know what to talk about on social media.
Hello.
Like every single question we've ever been asked in a business environment or even a personal environment for that matter has the ability to become content. And I told them the problem is, CB, the right content won't go viral. That's what I believe. That in our world, the right content won't go viral. We can get lucky, right? And like you had an incredible, fortunate opportunity with like your shoulder taps video. that video got millions and millions of views and continues to get views. And now people have named awards after it, right? Like it, but in your mind, you didn't set out to go, what can I do that's going to go viral?
No.
And you just put out there what God had put in your heart, and it, boom, it set off like wildfire. And so I just believe that if we're trying to create the right content that adds value to people, it's just not the type of content that's naturally going to go viral.
Yeah.
And so we've got to put our ego aside and make it less about the outcome for our ego and more about the input because we value the other people more than we value ourselves.
You bet.
And that's what it comes down to. Oh, also, can I say this?
You can say anything.
In your Costco example, the other side to that story is, what if that old lady with a hairnet on was giving out bowls of those meatballs? We would walk away so full, we would have zero desire to actually buy the pack. And so there has to be this balance of giving just enough away to keep people coming back for more.
So good, dude.
As opposed to vomiting on them all the time. And then we teach them a whole lesson, and then we've given them so much they don't really need us anymore.
It's so good. So I love the question thing, and I love actually listen, right? Is that the name of that chapter?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Actually listen. I really want you, if you're listening or watching into this right now, I challenge you, because I suffered from this my first probably 3 years of coaching. We used to record coaching sessions, Kyle. I don't know if I've ever told you this. And we would on cassettes.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. This is 20 years ago. And so I would listen to some of them before I'd mail them to the client, until our attorneys at Building Champions finally said, maybe it's not such a good idea recording all those coaching sessions. Maybe,
oh my gosh,
maybe that's not so good. But what I learned was, oh boy, I missed that thing she said. I totally steamrolled over him. And so I took a P-Touch labeler. You know what those are? You print out a little strip of words, right? And it said, let them complete their thoughts out loud. And I put it up on my monitor. So I was reminded, you got to get better at that, man. And so number one, work on becoming a better listener, because we can all be better at it. Number two, start looking for, as Kyle just said, patterns. So let's say it is for a lender. Let's say it is 50 questions. If you start writing them down during the course of the day and maybe start putting, hash marks next to them, you'll begin to see, wow, this comes up again and again. Yep. Initially, it's going to be rate questions, right?
Right.
With realtors too, property value questions. What am I going to buy? I would think about listing, but what am I going to buy? What's it going to look like next year? Like, we think we're just going to keep renting. You start making notes around those things. And to Kyle's point, you've got all the content that you need. You don't have to sit around saying, I can't come up with a meatball on the toothpick post. Don't worry about that. That stuff will come later. Right now, help people. Here's what I know. In the market that we're in right now, folks, this is probably the most challenging market we've seen since 2008. It is.
Yeah.
And right now, people are confused. They've got incorrect information. They're listening to the morning news, the evening news, and all they're going to want to do is inflame the situation, right? What we know is people are going to benefit from making positive choices about their real estate, their primary real estate, investing in real estate, potentially changing the terms of their loan. Like, people have life issues and they need your help. So the best way to do that is to be visible, to engage, to tell some of those life change stories. That's a great one, by the way. Years ago, a guy that you may never even heard of, Joe Stumpf, Stumpf, real estate trainer, probably 20 years ago, brilliant guy. He would talk about these postcards that realtors were sending out called Evidence of Success. And so what it was this, it was a story. It was Kyle and Lana didn't think they could buy their first home. They were paying X number of dollars for rent. After looking at their situation, we were able to get them this lovely 2,300 square foot, 3-bedroom house. And they're actually, after their taxes, they're actually paying $200 a month less. Wow. If you know somebody like Kyle and Lana, let me know. But we didn't have social when he was teaching that. We had postcards. Dude, tell stories about the people that you're talking to, the success stories, right?
100%. That's how we relate. You're always posting about, like, I know you just posted about a movie that you just watched about the fighter, the fighter pilots.
Devotion.
And so the moment that says like Coach Bill approved on it, well, then that makes me want to go watch it.
Right.
And here's where I love to say, like, we're playing chess where the rest of people are playing checkers on social media. When you put out a movie promo like that, or when you or I talk about a book that we're reading, like I know he's a real friend of yours. I call him a friend, but like Steve Sims' Blue Fishing.
Yes.
Right. I have people that all over the country thank me for this book.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't write this book. Your friend Steve Sims did, but they don't know him. They know me, and they wouldn't know the book if it wasn't for me. So when this book sits on the shelf, they don't go, man, that's Steve Sims, man. His ability to write and be profound, yet simplify. They go, I am so grateful for my friend Kyle.
So good.
right? They don't
So
go
good.
thank the director of devotion. When I go see that movie and cry and love it, every time I see it Beyond Now, I think about you.
Nice.
That's dipping into the psychology of all this, where I
Nice.
just need you to remember me. And it doesn't happen through, well, I send you 6 postcards a year. It's got to go deeper than that.
It's so good, buddy. As we start to wrap this up, people ask me a lot, and dude, I'm 67. I'm going to be 68 next month. It's like social media, should not be in my wheelhouse, right? But it's something that I'll tell you what got me going on this. Gary Vaynerchuk's first book, Crush It. When I read that probably 10, 12 years ago, he was talking about video. He was just talking about the power of video. And I was a horse in the stable of a coaching company. And I realized I wanted to separate myself. And so I started doing video. And you guys go to my YouTube channel and look at some of the early stuff. Oh my goodness, awful. Like this is my audio sounded like this, probably, or maybe like this, like, hey, Kyle. It was terrible. My lighting was terrible. My background was terrible. I was terrible. There was nothing good about it. But I jumped in, right?
Yeah.
I jumped in. And now there's a reason that you see blue lighting behind me. There's a reason that I sound good because I'm using the same mic that you are.
Yeah.
There's a reason that my stuff works because I try and keep it tight and keep it short and just kind of get to the point. And I use your service, right? Like, so all of that was an evolution over 10 or 12 years. If you're watching or listening to this and you have not yet stepped into video, I am telling you, if you ask me the one thing that changed my career and created my brand, it was video. And Kyle, you are brilliant at it. And you do the things I know I need to be doing. Instagram Live, Facebook Live, like you'll show up, you'll bring in an audience, you bring people into the room with you and like, hey, I want to talk to you about this thing. Like, can we just close on video? Like, what have you learned about video?
I think what I've learned the most is that my crappy video will outperform the video that you never do every time.
That's so good, dude.
Man, that's it. Because what's fascinating is no one will ever be a worser critic of ourselves than ourselves.
For sure.
So you're always going to say, oh gosh, go back to my early videos. They're awful. But somebody's going to go watch them and go, his awful videos are better than the best one I've ever done. Because their perspective of you is always different than the perspective you have of yourself.
For sure.
And so the only thing that I know is true is that putting ourselves out there in front of the camera always works. Because I don't need to be impressive. I just need to be present.
Tell me that's in the book. I don't need to be impressive. I just need to be present.
Dude, that needs to be in there. I don't know if that's in there or not.
That's so good.
Maybe I'm already saying quotes for my second book.
I think we should do this more often because, I see a second book formulating pretty quickly here.
But that's it, and that is where for you, because everybody knows you as one of the greatest mortgage coaches that I've ever known and that most people have ever known for a long, long time.
Thanks, buddy.
And so if you're not careful, because you're thought of in such high regard, if very little of your content humanizes you, then you become untouchable. This is what happens in most churches. The leadership becomes untouchable, and then the church begins to crumble. And so that's what I try to just be very aware of, is that as my career is beginning to rise and I'm in bigger rooms and bigger rooms, that no one ever would see me in person and think that I'm different than I was 3 years ago before anyone knew who I was.
I agree. Well, that I want to leave you with that thought. So somebody watching right now, somebody listening right now, either hires people for speaking engagements, knows somebody who hires people for speaking engagements, or knows somebody who knows somebody. You guys, if you have a sales rally coming up, if you have a president's club somewhere, you need to get Kyle in front of your people, because what'll happen is he's going to connect with them just as he has with me today. He's going to bring you encouragement, excitement, specificity about things to do. You can have everybody in the room have a copy of his book. And I'm telling you guys, you will change the way you create traction in your markets because of what Kyle brings. Second thing is, you need to get online and order, I don't know, you need at least 25 copies of Kyle's book. So
why not 1,000?
Right. Or possibly 1,000, because then you'll have extras then for all the new clients that you're creating. But don't buy one copy. Don't buy one copy. This is the exact kind of book that you need as a gift for the people that you work with and the people that you value. So those are the things that I want you to do. What's the best way for people to hang out with you and just kind of learn more about you, bud?
I am Coach Kyle Draper across all social. My website's kyledraper.com. That'll be the easiest way to go find the book. So I'm pretty hard to miss.
Nice. You are, buddy. Yeah, but you're also hard to ignore, and I just love you, dude. I love hanging out with
I
you.
love you too.
I love the opportunity. Thank you. I love the opportunity to spend time with you about your first book. I'm enormously excited about it. Cannot wait to read this book. So, buddy, thanks for being with me today. I wish you nothing but continued blessings, and as your family grows. And this is going to be number what now? That's
Number 3.
come
Coming up.
on,
Yeah.
come on. Pretty excited for you, buddy. Well, just nothing but lollipop, sunshine, and rainbows on your family. Can't wait to read the book. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thanks, CB.
You bet.